not that different. We both have lost too much, but now we have a chance to regain it all. The new enemy shows no mercy.
Let's go. All right, guys, it is time for the weekly market analysis. All right, this is gonna be a good one. Pull up your computer, take some notes. All right, so we have now rallied. Now, I know everybody keeps talking about the gap, and it can certainly fill. I think if you go down here, you might even run a risk of having to go all the way down to the Bollinger Band here and put in a symmetrical inverted head and shoulders. Okay? It's possible. It is possible. However, we gapped over the 200 and we've just been crawling up, and now we've sold 1, 2, 3, 4 days, and as you see, we dropped to support, and support held even with absolute dog shit news that is like straight out of Nutlick's playbook again. Okay, and why is the 200 so important? Because here you see it didn't hold. Here it rejected really harder than ever before. And then when it came up, it gapped over. Now, why is this important? This is the most important thing out there. Look at this pattern. And look at this pattern. I'm gonna use, for reference, instead of the 200, the 21. This is election night. We gap over the daily 21. We come down, we retest it. I am expecting next week to look like this, with then Friday moon's end. Okay, I'm going to bring in Mr. IVV, and for those of you who don't know what IVV is, it is Vanguard's SPX ETF, because I don't have a bunch of crap on it. Okay, so nice and clean. So where are we? This is the bottom of the April low. That's the uptrend line. We are still in an uptrend. Where did we drop to? We dropped to support. Then you have this trend line here. That is the gap up from the election. Okay, that's the same one I just showed on SPX. Okay, and if, okay, let me put it this way. I'm gonna refer to this. Version A brings us up to here. Okay, with a, I've counted the days. You would have a top when it's full moon. Full moon being, why is this not working here? Full moon being on the 13th. Okay, now that's version A, is that we follow this pattern here. Version B is that we start breaking support. Okay, but you got 3 interesting spots here. You have this trend line that goes all the way back to, oh, you guessed it, the COVID low. There's the COVID low. It's where the moon is. It's the last financial reset type of dealio. You got that trace in here. You got this trend line. So version B would bring us probably down to the COVID trend line. Okay, version A, we have the bears pour a bunch of money for a few days into puts, and then we rip their faces off. Okay, got it? Now it gets even more interesting, but that's why you're on the moon train. Okay, see this? This is the daily 21. That's the day in red. And in yellow you got the daily 89. So that's the 89, that's the 21. There's a version C. I will show you version C. You gotta go way back. And what we're looking for here is a crossover. Last time we had a crossover, SPX was at 4,404. I remember that well. And what happened was you had a melt up of giant proportion all the way up to 52.50s. Okay? That would be version C. That's what Trump has told us is going to happen. But we got to put things into perspective here. You're clearly losing steam. You're waiting on something, right? He drops this tariff news that on June 1st, he's gonna put 50% tariffs on Europe. Had you said that a few weeks back, you would have gotten a fucking candle like that, okay? He's also slapping on 25% on Apple, which is ridiculous that you can do that on a specific company. So what did that result in? That resulted in Apple having a downtrend island here. Means you got a gap here, because gaps don't feel to the wick, they feel to the body, okay? Because that's the closing price. So you got an island gap on Apple, okay? So if Apple does nothing and doesn't, con Trump into saying that they will only manufacture their highly successful Vision Pro snorkel goggles in America, and he's happy with that, I would think investors are gonna pull out of Apple. All right, so am I 100% convinced that this pattern is just gonna hold next week and go higher? No, there's risks here. However, I did go in and find the dates we need. Okay, important dates. So, first of all, let's pull up the calendar here. First of all, before everybody's celebrating Juneteenth, Juneteenth is the TikTok day. So Trump extended the deadline for ByteDance to divest TikTok's US operations by 75 days on April 4th, setting the new deadline on Juneteenth. Okay, fantastic. The 90-day pause we did with China on May 12th runs to August 12th. Important date as well. And most countries 90-day pause end on Monday, July 9th. Okay? So these are important dates. And obviously we'll go over the economic calendar in a sec here. But overall, and you can always break that to, I would not be surprised if we get a gap fill at all. But if we hold the 200, it is huge, 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 huge. Okay, and I think we repeat this. We had that nice melt up before we started doing the fucking craziest trading of all time, okay? And how do you play this? Well, let's say this was Friday, Monday, Tuesday. So you can play something in the money or out of the money Monday, Tuesday. That would be Wednesday. That's when a lot of things happen this week, right? So, no, sorry, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is huge. I'll explain why. And then Friday. So, end of the week, if we're holding and, the STO lines up and the MACD hasn't crossed down over, you're probably good to play some in the monies until the full moon. Okay, because we just had a new moon, right? And it can be either or, but looks like we could possibly be putting in a bottom during where, right? This is the other way around, by the way, because our Gregorian doesn't match up. But anyway, we got a new moon here, could take us into the full moon, which is Friday the 13th, give or take, and that could be when we get to 6,000. That's my thoughts, at least. Okay, so what will I be playing besides SPX? And I do want to say that we were here, this Head and Shoulders, right? My contracts when you play SPX, I was in the money. They were like 3.5 grand, and I sold half. And I've never seen somebody pull the plug on contracts as fast as these 10 minutes here. And they even pumped them back and then boom, slammed them down. So cautious with SPX. You can be in an uptrend playing calls and lose your ass if you don't know what you're doing. Why was I still holding some here? Because my stop didn't hit here. It was too fast. It didn't want to trigger it. And once it goes below, I usually take it off because I don't want to get stopped out on a weak up, because you could also explode. And it was kind of setting up here. It was looking good, but then the last play didn't pan out. Whatever. We're going to come back fresh and strong next week. And what are we looking at? Well, give me a fib something. Here, okay, great. Never mind, I got full. I think that if we gap, you're gonna get the direction for a few days. Meaning, if we gap below, we're probably gonna go gap fill Tuesday, Wednesday, right? If we gap above Friday's range, you are gonna have a retrace to here. So that could be one possible trade where you rip it from here up to there. Okay? Just a thought, because we do have early low on Tuesday, early low on Wednesday, early high Thursday, Friday mixed signals. Okay, so the only reason I don't like this is markets don't bottom on a Friday, but it was on bogus news, and it's bullish that we defended the low. It's also bullish that we came to support and held. What's not bullish is that we couldn't close the gap and we closed under intraday highs, so it is kind of mixed. However, we dipped into the gap and started buying. We didn't even think about going to the gap. So I would not be surprised if Tuesday's A-OK, Wednesday, Thursday, we gotta watch for landmines, meaning you could get any news now at any point that fills this gap. If the news is good, you're off to SPX 6,000 in a hurry, okay? So I think range bound next week, at least looking at this pattern from post-election, was pretty range bound. So if we can play the range, we can buy calls at the low whenever it goes and sniffs that daily 200, we should be okay. All right. Now, some individual names, please. Probably my favorite, and I'm in the 335s for June. I'm probably gonna buy some for July. Look, Elon. Let's just go to Elon. He's being stoked here. Let's go to Elon. Where is he? There he is. So Elon's been saying that he's going back to the office, right? Okay. He also posted his Cybercab. He's like, you know, wants to pump it. A lot of interest. So this is some type of Rain Man pattern here. I'm not even gonna count the first bar that brings us in there, or that I just started here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th candle. So if Tuesday's green, Wednesday's super green, there's a chance that we get going here, okay? And we don't want to miss that move. And again, a chance. And I'm kind of looking for SPY. I'm looking for this MACD to bring us in. What I'm trying to do is catch the move into the next range. I don't want to be part of this, but I'm trying to catch it with swings, okay? And leave some yada yada yada, you know the drill, okay? So that's probably gonna be like my number one trade. Another one I'm really digging here, Meta, inside weekly with a MACD. So this can either absolutely puke and the market's about to die, meaning version B or even version D here. But if we go with version A, Tesla is gonna make a weekly cup, and by the end of June you should at least be up here sniffing the 700s, which is quite a big move if that happens. So my number 2 favorite trade. As far as Nvidia, look, people are asking, don't ask me what I think it's gonna do for earnings. Okay, I mean, you can, I love you guys, but you know what I mean, like, what the, how am I supposed, if I knew the reaction, I'd tell you right now and try to hook you guys up with Japanese cucumbers all day long. Most likely gonna be an IV flush. Topping out, you could say it's a massive bull flag, sure. Or you could say it's just it's about to make another shoulder or pull back on a huge cup. So like, as far as Nvidia, look, last earnings they beat. What was the reaction? Horrendous sell-off. Estimate 38 billion. You ready? That's huge. Now, yes, we're getting closer and closer to the AI world. We just did all that Middle East stuff, but what about China? If their guide is shit, forget about, you know, doing the pattern. Then it's gap fill. So again, Nvidia needs to be banging. If Nvidia is banging, brings me to my 3rd most favorite setup. They're gonna need cooling racks. Now SMCI, obviously we caught that for 2,300%. That was baller. And then it's come down also to the daily 200. Doesn't really mean shit for SMCI, but just saying. It is not a name that really respects it at all, because it's SMCI and it's complete, you know, what the fuck. But if it starts respecting, that's almost my like favorite sympathy Nvidia play, right? Could get something out of it. CoreWeave, yeah, okay. Quantum names, very, very strong this week. Like, extremely strong. Glad Barry caught it. On watch, but kind of wanted to chill for a few weeks before I get in. Trump sent United Steel. He also sent all the nuclear names, obviously. The sectors might be hot, but as you know, people hear about it later. They're not day traders. They're probably gonna come and buy the bag, and this pulls back. we'll have to keep an eye on it. One other interesting name in that space last week was this dude. I like it because the daily Stow has bottomed out, and usually when it does on any name you'll catch a move, but this seems to be trading quite crazy, but keep an eye on it if we could catch something like that from a low daily Stow, right? So as TS, okay. Fourth favorite setup, and I posted all these in the moon notes, by the way. This guy runs great in the summer, or has in the past. 3 strong days there, consolidating daily Stow low, waiting on this daily MACD to kind of start revving up, and I think it's go time, and with a possible leg end of July up to the 60s if the market doesn't shit on us. Google very strong here and there last week. Last 2 days dog shit, lost the 200, probably needs to come down to here with the rest of tech. Palantir board and CEO sold a bunch. MSTR, what on earth? Obviously we've traded this up big time. Wasn't really in it too much in the last week after it hit that 425 level, and then it absolutely dumped down to Bollinger's support. So looking to possibly buy the dip at some point. Although I think Bitcoin, I mean, it'll start ripping when it does. I think the yield fear brought it up significantly. Not a Microsoft trader personally, because it's like crack. That's ugly though, really ugly. And let's hope Microsoft does not have to go and backtest the daily 200 here. That's a big gap. Obviously it's been chugging up ever since earnings. So that kind of covers what I'll be looking at. Now as far as I think we're back to a news driven market. Inflation seems to be rising. Let's take a look here. You got that crazy ass gold chart. The VIX, I hate when we get stuck in VIX trading because it's so unpredictable, but it looks like it could serve as a gap filler here, but also it keeps getting rejected pretty hard. I'm surprised it didn't rise more last week, so would not mind now that it's gone up there if it just chills, but we gotta be careful. Okay, very careful. Bitcoin at 108 probably chops around here for a little bit. So now let's check the calendar for next week. Sunday, you got Powell speaking, first of all. So that could definitely move the market. I don't think he's gonna say anything good. Monday, Kashkari. All right, we get some European data. Tuesday, we're back opening again. Durable goods pre-market. Dallas Fed manufacturing. Some auctions. Williams. Wednesday, you get some lovely Richmond Fed data. Dallas Fed again. 5-year note auction. FOMC minutes. Thursday, jobs, GDP. Kugler, Delhi, blah blah blah, auctions. Tokyo, CPI. And Friday, you get Core PCE to come in hot. So as you know, usually, doesn't mean it always works, but usually you'll get a window dressing. This is May. Hopefully that was the dip and we can just rip up into June and go all the way into the full moon. And that would be preferable, okay? So if it's really choppy, don't be sitting in too much shit, because the later you catch the move, the better as far as premiums. Friday also Michigan consumer sentiment. So as you can see, there is a lot of road or landmines all over next week. All over next week, okay? Bunch of shit you gotta not get smoked on. And there's gonna be dips to buy, so you don't need to start hamming in first thing on Monday, I don't think, unless your particular name moves. Next week, Dick's, Nvidia, the big one on Wednesday, Costco. Okay? Costco usually a IV crush. They might catch some nice moves, but gotta be careful with it afterwards. AI, gotta keep a look on the flow. Let's. This looks good. The DEX looks good for a market hold. Let's see quickly here, like we usually do in the end. Oh, what is a VOO? Somebody likes that. Take a look here. We got. Is this? Oh, this is Meta. Let's just go to SPY. All right, here we go. Tuesday. Tuesday says unless we gap over 583, then you get to 587, 586 being the biggest GEX. You probably dip into the gap some more, okay? Which is understandable for Tuesday, unless we get some crazy ass good news, like a trade deal, then we go up there, but you're not going over 587. Tuesday biggest GEX pull 592, which I see as the top. That's the ghost candle, right? That's the top of the range for next week. Doesn't show too much lower, so that's great news. Then you got Thursday. Thursday looks like there could be some serious dumpage. That's also what the candlestick, by the way, if it follows that pattern. Tuesday, Wednesday, boom, Thursday, that gets bought up. So Friday has the same. So I'll be looking, if this pattern plays out early in the week, I'll be looking for that end of the week, okay? And then Friday, where you at, Friday? That's not nice, but if we can work ourselves over 585, sky's the limit. So GEX is all over the place. All right, guys, how did the Trin close? Trin closed at 0.74. It's been good, but market has been kind of crap, so it looks like people are buying longer dated stuff. And everybody's favorite, the Namo. See, I don't like that. We need a strong open next week to turn these MACDs around. Otherwise, we're definitely going with version D here. But this is starting to get pretty oversold short term, the Namo. Let me just check here. Do I have an RSI on here? Hold on one second. Yes, I do. Woohoo! RSI still over 50. So as long as the RSI on the daily is over 50, it's still uptrend bullish for me. All right, guys, thank you. Hopefully this was informative. I know it had a lot of info. And I wanted to end with, if you've lived under a rock, I'll be leaving on Thursday after trading wraps up. Friday I'll be on, but I won't have my trading set up on 5 screens, right? I'm only playing with 2 laptops and my phone. Might do some scalping, might not. I'll be on for Monday. I think Tuesday I'm traveling, so I might be on for open. I don't know. Definitely not on Wednesday. I'll try to be jump on here once I've settled into the hotel, but I don't even know what fucking time zone I'm gonna be in. You know what I mean, and all of that good stuff. And then I'll be trading Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday is another travel day. So I'll be in and out all week. I'll be home again this week. I'll be on here and I'll trade and all of that good stuff, but not all the time, you know, on live voice. I'll be home again Tuesday. So then it's back to normal, you know. So a couple of weeks here, I'll be in and out, and I'll still post my recaps as much as I can and give analysis and post some trades, and I'll open a swing tab for whatever swings I'm in on the moon train. Okay, so it doesn't all get lost in the chat. Maybe I'll just use moon notes actually. So check it out. God bless and thank you all.